Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. And today we are going head to head
Head to head.
in the battle of the cloud titans,
Right.
AWS versus Azure.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go feature by feature and try and give you a sense
Yeah.
of which platform might be right for you.
Help you navigate the cloud landscape and
Yeah.
and really cut through the marketing hype and
Yeah.
get down to the nuts and bolts of
Exactly.
like how these things actually work
Right.
in the real world.
And what's interesting is that a lot of organizations are going multi-cloud.
Absolutely.
So they're using both.
Yeah.
So you're in good company.
You're in good company if you're looking at both.
Yeah.
So, it's not as black and white as it used to be.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics, right?
Yeah.
The foundation of any cloud platform.
Okay.
Virtual machines, scaling, storage.
Okay. Round one, round
Virtual machines.
Okay, so both AWS and Azure.
Offer virtual machines that you can spin up, pay for by the second.
Okay.
And you'll find, kind of similar categories like general purpose or memory optimized.
Oh, so like the different sizes?
The different sizes, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But the devil is in the details.
Okay.
The RAM and CPU and storage specs can differ between AWS EC2 instances and Azure virtual machines, even if they have similar names.
So like ordering a small coffee at one place might not be the same at the other place.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So what happens when my application takes off and I need more power?
Right.
That's where scaling comes in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so scaling is all about handling those traffic spikes, making sure your applications stay responsive.
So my cloud can just magically grow.
Exactly.
Yeah, like an expanding cloud city.
That's a great analogy. Think of a website
Yeah.
getting flooded with traffic during a big sale.
Right.
Instead of having to manually add servers, auto-scaling will automatically add more virtual machines. To handle the load, and when things calm down, it'll scale back down to save you money.
So AWS has auto scaling and Azure has VM scale sets.
You got it. So both allow you to manage groups of identical virtual machines that can scale up or down based on demand.
Okay.
Azure also offers app service auto-scaling, which is specifically designed for web apps.
Okay.
So even easier to handle those traffic surges.
Got it. So we got the virtual machines, they can scale.
Right.
But where do we actually store our data and applications?
Right. So that's where storage comes in. And again, both platforms have a variety of options.
Okay.
So for durable long-term storage for your virtual machines,
Okay.
AWS offers EBS volumes, while Azure has blob storage disks.
Okay.
But what about temporary storage?
Right. So like temporary files that I only need while the application is running.
Yeah, like a scratch pad for your cloud.
Yeah.
AWS has EC2 Instant Store for that,
Okay.
while Azure offers temporary storage.
Gotcha.
It's perfect for storing temporary files or data that doesn't need to be persisted long-term.
And what if I need super fast, high performance storage,
Right.
like for a database or a high traffic website?
Right, for those high throughput needs.
Yeah.
AWS has provisioned IOPS volumes known for their speed and reliability.
Good.
Azure counters with premium storage offering similar performance characteristics.
Okay. So both platforms have options for the speed demons.
Absolutely.
But there's got to be a catch.
Well, one area to pay close attention to is shared file storage.
Okay.
So AWS offers Elastic File System, EFS, and Azure has a similar offering called Azure Files.
Right.
Both allow you to share files across multiple virtual machines.
Right.
But the specific implementation and features can differ.
So even when the features sound similar, the details matter.
Absolutely. It's not just about having a feature, it's about how that feature is implemented
Right.
and how it aligns with your specific needs.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's move on to round two.
Okay.
Container clash.
The container clash.
Okay.
All right, so containers have revolutionized how we build and deploy applications. And both AWS and Azure have fully embraced this technology.
So break it down for me.
Okay, so first up, we need a place to store those container images,
Okay.
those little packages of application code.
Okay. So like the libraries,
Exactly.
our cloud city.
Exactly.
Okay.
So AWS offers Elastic Container Registry, ECR, and Azure has Azure Container Registry.
Okay.
Both serve as your repositories for managing those images.
So once we have those images stored,
Right,
we need a way to manage how they run and interact.
right. And that's where Kubernetes comes in.
Kubernetes, I hear that word everywhere.
You do think of Kubernetes as the conductor of your container orchestra.
Okay.
It manages all those individual containers.
So it's like the traffic control system.
Exactly,
Yeah.
keeping everything flowing smoothly.
Okay.
So both AWS and Azure offer managed Kubernetes services, AWS EKS, and Azure AKS.
Okay.
They take care of the underlying infrastructure, making it easier to deploy and manage your containerized applications.
Are there any key differences between those two?
So one notable difference is in the management experience.
Okay.
Azure AKS has a reputation for being a bit more user-friendly,
Okay.
with features like auto updates and a built-in operations console that simplifies cluster management.
So they've made Kubernetes, which is a little bit complex,
Yeah,
more approachable for the average user.
you could say that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's a potential advantage if ease of management is a top priority. But wait, there's more. It's time for a bonus round.
Okay, a bonus round.
The serverless smackdown.
Serverless. Is this where servers magically disappear?
Not quite,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
serverless computing allows you to focus on your code without worrying about the underlying infrastructure.
Okay.
You upload your code, the cloud platform takes care of running it, scaling it,
Okay.
and you only pay for the actual execution time.
So it's like paying for electricity only when you're using it.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
So in this corner, we have AWS Lambda, the veteran serverless platform.
Okay.
And in the opposite corner, we have Azure Functions, ready to challenge the champ.
So they both let me run code on demand.
That's right. But Azure throws in an interesting curveball.
Oh, a curveball.
With web jobs,
Okay.
which are designed for running scheduled or continuous background tasks.
Gotcha.
It's a capability that doesn't have a direct equivalent on the AWS side.
Interesting. Okay, so Azure's saying, hey, we can also handle those behind-the-scenes jobs
Exactly.
that keep my cloud city humming along.
Exactly. And that brings us to the end of round 2.
Wow.
We've covered virtual machines, scaling storage containers, and even dipped our toes into the world of serverless.
Yeah, but the fight's not over yet.
No, it's not.
Nope, we've got more to explore.
Absolutely.
Databases, DevOps, and security are all coming up next.
Yep.
Stay tuned as we dive even deeper into the AWS versus Azure showdown.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Stay with us.
All right.
Welcome back to the deep dive, where the AWS versus Azure cloud showdown continues.
Right.
We've covered the fundamentals,
Right.
but now it's time to enter the realm of databases,
Oh, databases.
where data is king.
Okay.
So both AWS and Azure
Yeah.
offer a vast array of database services,
Okay.
from the familiar relational databases,
Right, the classic.
yep, the classics,
Yeah.
to the more modern NoSQL options.
Okay, so let's start with those classics, the relational databases.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, most people have encountered those in some form, those organized tables
Right.
with rows and columns.
Right, the workhorses of the data world.
Yeah.
So both AWS and Azure provide managed relational database services
Okay.
that handle all those behind-the-scenes tasks like backups, patching, and scaling.
So it's like having a DBA
Exactly,
Yeah.
but without the hassle of actually hiring one.
without the hiring part.
Right.
Okay.
So on the AWS side, we have RDS,
Okay.
which supports various popular database engines like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server.
Right.
Azure offers SQL Database, a managed service specifically designed for SQL Server.
Gotcha.
And here's a bonus.
Oh, bonus. Okay.
Both platforms offer serverless options for their relational databases.
Serverless databases. All right.
So the database can scale automatically based on demand,
Okay.
and you only pay for what you use.
So like my electricity.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is perfect for workloads with unpredictable traffic patterns.
Okay, so relational databases can feel a little rigid sometimes.
Right.
What about those newer, more flexible NoSQL databases?
You're talking about NoSQL,
Yeah.
where data can be stored in a variety of ways. Key value pairs, documents, graphs,
Okay.
and more. It's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
Right.
And in this corner, Azure steps forward with its champion Cosmos DB.
Cosmos DB. What makes it so special?
Cosmos DB is a multi-model database,
Okay.
meaning it natively supports all those different NoSQL data models.
Okay.
So it's incredibly versatile
Yeah.
and can handle a wide range of use cases.
So instead of having to choose a specific NoSQL database for each type of data, I can just use this one.
Exactly. It's like a Swiss Army knife of databases.
Yeah.
On the AWS side, they have more specialized NoSQL offerings,
Okay.
like DynamoDB for key value stores, DocumentDB for documents, and Neptune for graph databases.
So it's a trade-off. Do I need a jack of all trades or master of one?
Right.
Okay.
Now, performance is crucial in the database world,
Yeah.
especially if you're dealing with high-traffic applications.
Right.
And that's where caching comes in.
Mm-hmm. Caching? Caching? I've heard of that.
You have.
Is it like storing frequently accessed data in
Exactly.
a super fast location?
All right, like a temporary location, so you don't have to go digging for it every time.
Okay.
So AWS offers Elasticache, And for Redis specifically, they have Amazon MemoryDB,
Okay.
Azure counters with Azure Cache for Redis.
So they both embrace Redis for speeding things up.
Absolutely. Redis is a popular open source caching solution,
Okay.
and both AWS and Azure have integrated it into their platforms.
Right. So we've explored the databases.
We have.
But we can't forget about the people behind the scenes.
Right.
Those who build, deploy, and keep these cloud systems running.
Right, the DevOps crew.
Yeah, the DevOps crew.
They're the unsung heroes
Yeah.
of the cloud world.
Right, round 4.
The round 4,
DevOps tool.
the DevOps stool.
All right, what are we looking at here?
First up, we need to keep a close eye on things.
Okay.
Monitoring and observability are crucial in the cloud.
Okay, so if something breaks, we need to know about it right away.
Exactly. And both platforms have powerful tools for this.
Okay.
AWS has CloudWatch for monitoring and X-Ray for tracing requests through your application.
Okay.
Azure offers Azure Monitor, a comprehensive suite of tools for collecting, analyzing, and acting on telemetry data.
Telemetry data.
Yeah.
Is that just data about how our applications are performing?
It's more than just performance data.
Okay.
It includes logs, metrics, events, and traces, basically anything that can give you insights into how your applications and cloud infrastructure are behaving.
It's like having a dashboard with all sorts of dials and gauges
Exactly.
showing us the vital signs of our cloud.
Right.
Gotcha. Now let's talk about getting our code
Okay.
from the developer's laptop to
Right.
the cloud.
Yeah.
That's where DevOps pipelines come in.
Okay, so it's automating the process of building, testing, and deploying applications.
Precisely.
Gotcha.
AWS has code pipeline for this, and Azure offers Azure DevOps services.
Okay.
Both provide comprehensive tools for creating automated workflows
Okay.
for continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD.
What about those developers who prefer the command line?
Right.
Are there options for them?
Absolutely. AWS has its command line interface, the AWS CLI,
Okay.
and Azure counters with Azure PowerShell.
Okay.
Both allow you to manage your cloud resources with the power of the command line.
Awesome. So no matter what my preferred style is,
Yeah,
I can still interact.
you got it.
Okay, cool.
Now let's talk about infrastructure as code,
Okay.
a key DevOps practice where you define your cloud resources using code
Okay.
instead of manually clicking around in a console.
So it's like writing a script that creates my cloud environment. Right. This makes managing your infrastructure repeatable, auditable, and version controlled.
Gotcha.
AWS has CloudFormation for this.
Okay.
And Azure offers Azure Resource Manager, or ARM.
Oh,
They've even introduced a newer language called Bicep
Dicep. Okay.
that makes writing ARM templates easier.
Interesting. So they're trying to make infrastructure as code more approachable.
Exactly. And for those times when you need a quick and convenient way to manage your cloud environment,
Okay.
both platforms offer cloud shells.
Cloud shells.
These are browser-based interactive shells
Oh.
that give you access to the command line tools
Okay.
right in your web browser.
So no matter where I am, if I have a browser,
You got it.
I can manage my cloud.
Exactly.
That's pretty handy.
It is.
Okay.
And that wraps up our DevOps tool.
Wow.
We've covered monitoring pipelines, command line tools, infrastructure as code, and even cloud shells.
That's a lot.
It is,
Yeah.
but our cloud showdown isn't over yet.
It's not over.
We still have one more crucial area to cover.
Oh, securing.
Bring on the security. Okay, it's time for the final round in our AWS versus Azure showdown, the security face-off.
Right.
After all, what good is a cloud city if it's not protected from the bad guys?
You guys, the security is absolutely paramount in the cloud.
Yeah.
And both AWS and Azure take it very seriously.
Right.
They offer a wide array of security services
Okay.
and features to help you safeguard your valuable data and applications.
So first up, we need to control who has access to what.
Right. You don't want just anyone
Right.
wandering around in your cloud city.
My cloud city.
Right. So we need a system for identity and access management, or IAM.
Okay.
So AWS offers IAM,
Right.
and Azure has Microsoft Entra ID, formerly known as Azure Active Directory.
Okay.
Both allow you to define users' groups and roles,
Okay.
and then assign granular permissions to those roles.
So it's like security clearances
Exactly.
in my cloud city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some users have access to certain areas.
Yeah. While others have more restricted access,
Okay.
and both IAM and Entra ID support multi-factor authentication,
Multi-factor authentication, yes.
which adds an extra layer of security
Right.
by requiring users to provide multiple forms of verification like a password and a code from their phone.
Right. Always a good idea.
Always a good idea.
So let's talk about keeping our data confidential.
Right.
encryption is key here.
Absolutely. Encryption scrambles your data
Okay.
so that even if someone gains unauthorized access,
Yeah.
they can't read it.
Okay.
So both AWS and Azure provide services
Okay.
for managing encryption keys.
Okay.
AWS has KMS and Cloud HSM, while Azure offers Key Vault.
So it's like having a secure vault for
Exactly.
storing the keys that unlock our data.
Exactly. And these services allow you to control
Okay.
who has access to those keys,
Right.
ensuring that only authorized users can decrypt the data.
Okay, now let's talk about firewalls.
Right.
The gatekeepers of our cloud,
Exactly.
keeping all the bad traffic out.
Right. Both AWS and Azure offer various firewall services.
Okay.
So AWS provides network firewall for protecting your network at a lower level,
Okay.
and web application firewall, or WAF, for safeguarding your web applications from common attacks.
Okay, so network firewall is like the city wall, and WAF is like the security guards.
Exactly.
Okay.
Azure also offers Azure Firewall and Web Application Firewall,
Okay.
providing similar layers of protection.
So both platforms have got me covered
You got it.
on the firewall front.
And don't forget, both platforms offer a plethora of other security services and tools.
We could do a whole episode just on security.
We could,
Yeah.
from threat detection and intrusion prevention
Right.
to security auditing and compliance.
But let's move on to some of the more specialized services
Okay,
that these platforms offer.
let's do it.
Okay, things are about to get really interesting.
All right.
What else do these cloud titans have up their sleeves?
So let's start with the Internet of Things, or IoT for short.
IoT.
Okay. This is all about connecting and managing billions of devices.
Right.
From sensors and factories to wearables on people.
Right.
So AWS offers IoT Core for connecting and managing devices,
Okay.
and Greengrass for extending cloud functionality to edge devices.
Edge devices. Okay.
Azure has IoT Hub for device connectivity and IoT Edge for running cloud logic on edge devices.
So edge devices, what are those?
So edge devices are devices that are located closer to the data source,
Okay.
like on a factory floor
Okay.
or on a wearable device.
Okay.
Processing data at the edge can reduce latency
Okay.
and allow for real-time decision-making.
So it's like a mini cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Closer to the action.
Gotcha.
Now let's step into the world of machine learning and AI.
All right. AI. The computers are coming to life.
Not quite thinking for themselves,
Okay.
but they are getting better at performing tasks
Right.
that typically require human intelligence.
Yeah.
Both AWS and Azure offer powerful platforms for
Yeah.
building, training, and deploying machine learning models. Okay.
So AWS has SageMaker and Azure has Azure Machine Learning.
Okay, so whether I'm building a system to recognize images or predict customer behavior,
You got it.
they got me covered.
They got you covered.
Okay.
And let's not forget about virtual assistants.
Right, the virtual assistant.
So AWS has the Alexa Skills Kit,
Okay,
which allows you to build custom skills for Amazon Alexa.
okay.
Azure offers the bot framework for building and deploying conversational bots.
Okay, so if I want to build my own custom Alexa skill or a chat bot,
You got it.
they have the tools for me.
They got you covered.
Okay.
And here's another example of how these platforms are constantly pushing the boundaries.
Okay.
Serverless databases.
Serverless databases.
AWS offers Aurora Serverless,
Okay.
and Azure has Azure SQL Database Serverless.
So not only can I one code serverless, but I can have serverless databases.
That's right. Serverless is becoming a popular architectural pattern,
Okay.
and both AWS and Azure are embracing it
Gotcha.
across their platforms. So this is just a glimpse of all the things that they can do.
Right, and we haven't even touched on things like blockchain, quantum computing.
It's amazing how much these cloud platforms can do.
It is.
So after this epic showdown, who emerges as the champion?
Well, if this were a boxing match,
Yeah,
we'd have to call it a draw.
a draw. Okay.
Both AWS and Azure are incredibly powerful
Okay.
and feature-rich platforms.
Okay.
There is no single winner. The best platform for you depends entirely on your specific needs.
So it's not about which platform is better, it's just which platform is right for me.
Exactly.
Okay.
Your existing infrastructure,
Yeah.
your team's expertise, and of course your budget.
Right.
But what's fascinating is how this competition between AWS and Azure
Yeah.
is driving innovation in the cloud. They're
Right.
constantly pushing each other
Yeah.
to be better, to offer more features, to be more cost effective, and ultimately that benefits us, the cloud users.
So a rising tide lifts all boats.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling overwhelmed by all these options, don't worry. You don't have to become an expert in both platforms overnight.
Okay.
Start by identifying your specific needs,
Right.
and then dive deeper into the areas that are most relevant to you.
Don't try and boil the ocean. Yeah.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Both AWS and Azure offer free tiers so you can try out services without breaking the bank.
Okay, that's a good point.
You might discover a hidden gem
Yeah.
that perfectly solves a problem you're facing.
So this has been a great overview,
It has.
but the journey doesn't end here.
No, it
We've
doesn't.
got to keep learning.
Absolutely. This is just the beginning.
Yeah,
The cloud is a vast and ever-changing landscape.
it is.
And as cloud users, we have the opportunity to be pioneers, to discover new ways to build, innovate, and solve problems.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to embrace the challenge, dive deeper,
Absolutely.
and never stop learning.
Never stop learning. The cloud is waiting to be explored.
Go forth and conquer the cloud.
You got it.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our AWS versus Azure deep dive.
It does.
Hope you found it informative and inspiring, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.